Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time joining in my book chat, my name is Melody McAllister. I'm so glad that you're here today, whether it's from Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook. We're just so glad to have you here today. And our guest authors that have created this wonderful book, we have, and I always want to read because I'll butcher the names, but yes, we have Lainey Rowell, Christy, Andre, and Lauren Steinman. We're so glad you're here today, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. How are you guys doing?
We're so good. Thank you for having us. This is so fun.
Thank you so much. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Not that you could tell.
Right? Were you not sure what day it was, Mel? Because I feel like you knew it was St. Patrick's Day.
Sure. I just get so excited at the very beginning that I forget sometimes. But this is special because these ladies, they released this book, this wonderful, beautiful, Evolving Learner book just a year ago, almost exactly. Like it is your book birthday on Sunday. Sunday was technically the first birthday. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah. It's debatable. It's debatable because there's like different, like we got the book in our hand, actually March 13th, interesting day to get the book in hand, but yes, look at you.
Yeah.
So you guys don't know this, but I have to sing you a song.
Oh, I'm excited about this.
I have cake and a song for you. I thought about singing Toora Lura Lura, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with Happy Birthday. Okay. Yes. Have the cake. Do you need to light your candle, Lainey?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry. I should have been more prepared.
Here we go. It's all right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, book birthday, Evolving Learner. Happy birthday to you.
So good.
Happy birthday,
Love
ladies.
it.
And I know,
Thank you.
It's hard. We're going to talk about this. It's hard to release a book like right before the pandemic, or you guys literally did it when the world started shutting down. Okay. So kudos to you. And I read this book. Yeah. Who would have thought, but and we'll talk about this, but the book totally stands up to it, and we'll get to that. But first, oh my gosh, and if you're watching, we have a book giveaway. And if you want to win this sucker, you've got to comment, tell us where you are, what you like, just comment, because we're going to choose a random comment, and you're going to win this book. So make sure that you're talking with us. All right, so first up, I'm going to have all of you wonderful authors introduce yourself, and first we'll go with Lainey. So go ahead and tell us all about you.
Well, I am Lainey Rowell, and I am honored to have written this book with Christy and Lauren. I am also a podcaster and international consultant. And of course, I was in the classroom. A great joy to be in the classroom as a teacher and also a district leader. Is that
awesome,
it? You want more? Was I supposed, what was the prompt?
Just tell us. Yeah, no, you're great. And people can follow you at Lainey Rowell, and you also do Lemonade Learning. So, and I think I probably have some links to share. Okay. All right. We'll do that in a second. And my friend Farzine said ballin'. So that's wonderful. All right. Next up is Dr. Christy. Dr. Christy, tell us all about you.
Well, I am currently a principal in Tustin in Orange County, California. I've been in the business for over 15 years. And let me think. I taught internationally in South Africa for a couple of years. So I would have to say that to shout out to all my students that are friends with me on Facebook. And this book was definitely a labor of love. I'd say what I'm passionate most about is social emotional learning and professional learning for teachers, and that we always grow. So this is a timely book, especially right now when we have to keep shifting and growing. So that's me. And you can follow me at Dr. Christy Andre. And then this SEL the SEL learning kit is actually my son and I, who's 6, and we like to do a lot of little hands-on, kid-friendly, how to do it with your own child at home.
Oh, that's awesome! Great, that's great.
It's
I will definitely be following you. Yeah, that sounds so awesome. All right, and next up is Dr. Lauren. Tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Steinman. I'm also a principal in Orange County, California, and I have 2 wonderful kids, 1st grade and 3rd grade. I taught for many, many years, 1st and 5th grade, 2nd grade, and then I went on to work at the district office as a district leader as well. I was also a digital learning coach with Christy for a couple of years, and I have lots of passions, including professional learning with teachers, helping grow and develop teacher leaders, and also just really, I love ed tech. I love everything, but there's a lot of different great communities that I've been able to join, like both as a teacher and now as a principal, and it's been wonderful. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, Lauren M. Stein.
Awesome.
And for that
Wonderful.
Irish
And it's
last
so funny.
name.
Yeah.
I had an Irish last
A
name.
previous
I did too.
Irish last name.
I was McGann. I got the Mick names. Yep.
McInerney.
We're like all related. That is crazy.
You're hilarious.
Okay, my friend Farsi, he has a question, and I think this is great. We'll start out with this because this is actually a really good question. And you all three probably have different writing styles. So whether it's about evolving learner, what's everyone's advice for anyone who wants to write a book?
You know, it's funny. I'm gonna steal from my friend Dave Burgess, because he has told me this several times, that people come to him and they say, you know, I want to write a book and then go speak. And he gives the opposite advice, like go speak and see what resonates with people. And it doesn't have to be speaking. I think if you're blogging or submitting articles to publications, I think just getting started is the hardest thing. And also, just for dedicating time, I had to block out time on my calendar and consider that sacred time, because to me, writing is the easiest thing to procrastinate on. So I don't know, Lauren, what do you guys think?
Well, you know, I mean, I think like when we started this book, Christy and I had just finished our doctorate, and that's a big writing task to begin with. So we always joke that, like, why did we even say yes to this project? But I think you have to start with like being passionate about something and have something in mind that you really want to put out there. And I agree that I think speaking first really helps connect with people too, and also see not only what resonates with people, but where there's like a need and what people are asking for and wanting themselves. And so that is something that I think all three of us did a lot of leading up to this project, and that we continue to do, not necessarily like in the pandemic, but but otherwise. And that's a really great way also to kind of keep a pulse on what's out there and what people are seeking and how we can connect with others.
Yeah, and I'd say like be current with research and research-based practices. Like whenever I got stuck with the writing, it was more or less like finding other great books out there that were research-based to kind of read through and talk about. And I think that's one thing that we did really well, was kind of grab resources and ideas of so many different people and kind of put it in one place. And because I think people think you have to be an expert, but I think you just have to be passionate and know that we all have a voice in some different way, and that we can all be a part of the fire. And if we don't put our ideas in, then it doesn't, burn that whole analogy, if you will. Yeah.
And like a shout out to Corwin, they gave us so much resources. They gave us a ton of because our book isn't to replace necessarily like a PLC book or anything like that. It's more of like bringing it all together. And so they were really good at helping us with source material. Sorry, Mel.
Oh, that's great. Yes. Do we know Amanda? Is Amanda, like she says, happy book birthday, amazing women, proud of you.
Amanda is,
oh, so cool.
Yes, our partner in crime. We love Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm kind of curious too, like, how do you write? Like, I'm just going to ask, like, I have to, like, when I write, it's all up there, and then I just have to be alone, and I just, all of it. But some people write over time. How do you guys describe your writing process?
I think it's different when you're working in a team of people, right? That's one of the great things, is that we were able to sort of bounce ideas off of one another. And you're right, we all have different writing styles. We all have different voices. And so in that sense, we were constantly, I think, trying to check in with each other and kind of make sure that the themes and the tone of it matched consistently across the board. So,
yeah. I will say that Lauren's style, I love it, because she has these, like, if there's like a good, something that's like kind of got a little sass to it and it makes you laugh, I'm going to say it's probably Lauren. And that's no offense, Christy, because you're funny too. But there is just a little bit of sass to Lauren's humor that I just adore. Again, Christy, you're funny as I'll get up.
Irish humor, see? So a little bit of sarcasm gets you a long way.
I'm the like
Yes.
sentimental cheesy, so it's fine. I know she's that way. That is perfect. And I'd say for me, like I tried. It's weird. Like I don't know if you call it like an artist or whatever, but like I get my ideas out and I throw them all down. Like I often put it in my phone and under notes, and then I can't schedule off time. Like to me was awful because like if I was like, oh, I'm gonna go write, nothing came out. Like I'd stare at a blank screen. So I had to be in like the right zone with like all my books around me. And then it was usually like late at night when you're just like the thoughts are flowing, but it definitely was in spurts. So, I mean, I think it's, to each their own.
I agree.
Yeah.
Corwin, our publisher, like was so helpful because, between the three of us, I mean, you kind of go, well, what do you need? Do you want us to write the whole thing and then just edit it? Or, and like, how does that work? And they were really good about kind of helping us, frame it out. Because again, writing a book's different than writing a blog post or writing a dissertation or managing your social media. It's like completely different process, which I've been so grateful to go through with these ladies because it was a huge, huge learning experience. So.
Yeah, well, actually, I love how you did the 3 chapters, and we're going to talk, or kind of how you divvied it up. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But I will say that it felt like it was the same. It didn't feel changed up. 3 of you wrote it, but it just felt very smooth. It didn't feel like 3 of you wrote it at all because it just, it was a very easy read, to be honest. I was able to get through it and scream hallelujah and amen and mark it up and all sorts of things. I love it. And I just got to say, I'm going to drop the link right now while I'm thinking about it, because administrators, if you're watching, this is a book that you want your teachers and everybody, your school community, to read this summer and have a book study. I think this is an absolute wonderful book study, and it's written in a way that you don't feel demeaned. And I think that's the problem with a lot of the stuff that you talk about, and we haven't even gotten to the meat of it, but this is evolving learners, shifting from professional development to professional learning from kids, peers, and the world. So let's get into that part. And Lainey, I think that you were part of the learning from kids. So tell us all about like what you loved about it and just the process about it, or anything you want to share.
Yeah, so we actually had some discussion about the order of the chapters. And there was a time we had initially started with kids first, and then somehow it got switched. I just like in the organizing of things. And then we were on a call and we just all were like, kids should always be first. We're going to make the kids chapter first. That's what's important here. And so, for us, this kids chapter is really about, we're almost in 2 parallel cycles of inquiry where it's like the kids are the cycle of inquiry for what can they do? What do they know? And then we're in a cycle of inquiry for improving our practice. So a lot of the things we talk about in the chapter 1, learning from kids, is how can we leverage what they're thinking to pivot in the moment and make informed instructional decisions, but also to inform our practice on what are the things that we can improve upon. And so that's kind of one of the things that we're really big on, is learning from kids by using information that we get from them. What are they thinking and how can we do that? And then the other big part out of that chapter is ownership of learning. And we have these great diagrams, and there's the book's very visual. That was important to all 3 of us. That was one of the things we said to Corwin. This has to be visually engaging. We do not want walls of text. We want it to be really graphically engaging. And so the other one is ownership of learning. We've got some really great graphics in here. I'll try and flip to one. Yeah, here it is. So this is one. I don't know that it'll show up beautifully in there, but I have visual spatial issues. I don't know if any of you have that too, but I have a hard time sometimes doing that. So this was a take, actually, an adaptation from Austin Kleon, and I love him so much. And so I really wanted to kind of take that idea, but frame it as like teacher-driven versus learner-driven. So we talk a lot about how can we be more learner-driven, so we're learning more in a community rather than it just being the teacher doing all. Realistically, in a very traditional sense, the teacher does most of the learning. So we want it to be everyone learning together.
I love that. I think it's a great idea. But you talked about how the process is really the same. It's like problem-based for adults and for children. We have to feel like we're a part of it so that it actually is relevant and meaningful to us. And so I love that you led with that, because I'm like, yeah, that's how I learn too. It just makes a lot of sense. And the visuals were great. The visuals were great. Did you show where it was like, who's doing all the work? Is that the one that you showed? Who's doing all the work?
That's one of them. Yeah, who's working the hardest in this classroom? We all know. Again, I'm visually, spatially challenged, but so when we're up front doing all the work, and I think that's been a hard thing during COVID, is especially right in the very beginning of it. A lot of us felt like we had to get on and be kind of the talking head, one-to-many out to our classes, and now teachers have been so innovative and working towards how do we move away from that teacher-driven, even in whatever our scenario is, whether it's fully online, hybrid, or in person, we can move away from that in all of these scenarios. And I really appreciate you pointing out that the book holds up even in whatever we're in right now, because it really is about continuously improving and learning through a cycle of inquiry. So we're excited.
Definitely. I know. I think even the pandemic shows just how more necessary all of the information that you share is, to be honest, because like we've had to get rid of a lot of old systems that aren't working. We aren't going to take them back with us, I don't think. I mean, you all are school leaders, so you tell me. I mean, are there things that you're like, we're not doing this again, or practices, they're just gone? Like we're looking at new ways of teaching?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just jump in. I don't know, Christy, if you have something to say.
Go ahead.
But I think that, I mean, it's kind of funny because I think, especially 1 year in, we joke that it's like probably the worst time to release a book is like at the beginning of like the world shutting down. But honestly, I think that as the year has gone through and we've kind of gotten into this new school year and people have gotten, I mean, I don't want to say more comfortable with distance learning, but we've gotten into this zone. And as Christy and I are principals, we know that really the spirit behind us writing this was that, schools and districts would just like hand over PD to teachers and say, this is what you're learning. This is what you're going to be interested in this year. This is what you got to do. And that's something that's very much been peeled away this year because, resources are slim, gatherings aren't happening. Districts are focusing more heavily on making sure that distance learning is working for people. So really that's kind of stripped away. And so I think there's never been a better time to sort of introduce this concept of like, hey, whatever you are passionate about or whatever sparks an interest in you, you go out and here's how you can leverage that and get more information and dive into what you're interested in and make it work for you. So.
And I mean, as leaders and as running a school, I think, don't we want teachers to always be learners? And that's kind of this whole concept. Like I want my staff to just keep evolving and just keep wanting to evolve their practice to make themselves better. And so I think like oftentimes I even in my own experience will grab our book just to be like, oh yeah, how should we run this professional learning? Because there were so many great ideas in there. And I feel like that's kind of what we want. But in terms of like what to get rid of and what to keep, I definitely think the constant, like, we don't have to focus on the ed tech piece anymore. Like as digital learning coaches, we were coaching people how to use technology. Well, guess what? They know how to use technology now. And that is so amazing. So I think we can build off of that for best practices. I think some things have been very hard. Like our district is doing kind of and most districts are doing the in-person kids and online kids. And we know that how the challenge of all that, but then there has been benefits of being able to be online in parent meetings, right? Like it's so nice. Like then all of a sudden parents can come because they don't have to take off work. They can pop on. So there's definitely things that we've been able to keep, but then you're also looking at, we can't wait to get rid of, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. And that kind of naturally takes us into, the next chapter, learning from peers. What was your favorite part about this chapter?
I know. And Lainey kept saying that cycle of inquiry. And I think for me, when I first started teaching, I was at a school that was kind of a leader in PLCs. And so I think that was always my passion, and just seeing the way that you come together as a team and that you talk about data and then you shift your practice and you come back together, you talk about the data and you shift your practice. It's like this constant cycle. But your people are next to you. They're your peers. That's who you can definitely reach out to. And I think that's why I loved getting into this chapter, because it really is the feely one, because you get to be feely with your peers.
This is Christy's passion right here.
Yeah. See, Lauren will hit me with the jabs, but then I come back with the sentimental, and that's what is the best part about it. But For us, and I like even just leading presentations at conferences, I think the best presentations are one that leave you with takeaways. And I think that's what we really wanted in our book, and especially in Learning from Peers. Because as we started really writing it and getting into it, social emotional learning kept coming up, because you got to take care of your people. And Brene Brown's work kept coming up. And I was like, man, we got to hit the SEL work hard and hit it with like easy takeaways. And so you'll find by the end of the chapter is just little short blurbs on how you can implement it, which is definitely my passion, because it's like so easy to miss moments and so easy to really nail the moments. And another little part that we missed, even in chapter 1, which was amazing, is that we reached out to kids. So we have vignettes from kids.
Yes.
And then we have vignettes from people around the world. And that being able just to kind of showcase other leaders around the world was kind of also really special, because we admit that we're not the experts on the subject, and that we love learning from other people. Even in our evolvinglearner.org, we have a blog, and we really loved being able to get other people to write on it, because why not, right? We're all evolving. We can all learn from each other. Why not have other people come in and write for it too?
I'm so glad you brought up the social emotional.
I was going to say, let me say one thing about that. No, it's okay, Lainey, because we probably might even be saying the same thing. But here's the thing. Like when we talk about social emotional, we're usually talking about kids, but you guys brought it up with peers. And you said it's because the really only way to teach it is to model it. And I thought that was absolutely genius and absolutely true. So I wanted to interject that, but go ahead, Lainey.
Yeah, and I was so happy with how there were themes that we did not know were going to be such major themes when we started. And that was a big one. It was the SEL component, and it runs through all 3 chapters. We talk about Inspire Ed in Learning from Kids, and that's actually a program that is modeled after adults learning from kids and with kids for social emotional, rather than it being a top-down approach. And then Christy put so many beautiful practices into Learning from Peers. And then we do touch on social emotional learning in the world too, especially when it comes to comparison hangover, and how can we be learning from the world without it having detrimental impact on our emotional state, which is a constant battle. I will not pretend like you can buy this book and it will solve that problem for you, because that's an ongoing thing. But we talk very much about, don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to your previous self. Like, where was I a year ago, and what was I struggling with, and what have I grown since then? And so that was one of the biggest gifts for me throughout this, was learning so much from my co-authors. And I really was so happy about the SEL piece that came out so much more strongly than I ever thought it would. And I'm so grateful it did.
Shout out to our assistant superintendent that just commented. Thank you, Maggie.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. I thought you addressed SEL like right on. I was really happy to see it addressed so well. And the thing is that you guys wrote this before the pandemic hit. And I feel like the pandemic has made everybody say, yes, SEL is important. Finally. But you didn't even know the pandemic was was going to happen. So kudos to y'all for doing that. Is there any more that you want to add about Learning from Peers before we go on to the next chapter?
I think the one last thing that she brought up was one last resource that we squeezed in right at the end, which was Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett, because he's huge. And I promote our book, but man, if you don't have Mark Brackett's book, and that is all the same, because if we don't give ourselves permission to feel, how are we going to ever model that with our own kids? So I just wanted to touch that one too.
And again, that is something that you've had to do to survive and thrive this year. If you don't give yourself permission to do all of that, how can you even? All right, let's get to the last chapter, Learning from the World. Dr. Lauren, tell us all about it.
So really, there's a real purpose to, again, what we were talking about, the way that we went through the book. And then really the whole idea of the entire book is that you can learn from anyone. Everyone's got something to offer you. You have something to offer to everyone else. And that's where we kind of get into it, especially in Learning from the World. And that's something that probably a lot of people who are watching right now are very familiar with, because if you're seeking out information through social media, Twitter, that kind of thing, you're pretty well versed in that. But there's a lot of teachers, educators, leaders out there who are not really tapped into the resources that you can find. And I think it's because it can be really overwhelming to a lot of people. And we're, trying to show in a really clear way, hey, you can go in, and if you go to a conference and see something about a certain topic and you want to get more information about it, it's so easy to do that. You just need to know kind of how to appropriately consume, I think, like things like Twitter and other social media in order to get what you're looking for. You want to really go into social media when you're looking for professional learning purposes with more of like a fishing line versus a net, right? Because otherwise you'll just gather up everything and then go down these rabbit holes and be, going off. I mean, we joke in the book about like, you could be off on like cat memes for 4 hours and then be like, why did I even start this? But like it really, if you've got an idea of what you're looking for, you can find virtually anything for free and learn up on it, and then be able to share it with others, and then go backwards, bring it to your classroom, teach your kids, teach your peers, and really like start a movement in your school. Because a lot of times, we're very fortunate that we work in a district and in schools that are very progressive and do a lot of really great new things. There's a lot of people all over the world who are like in classrooms where they don't have collaborative groups that they work with. Maybe they don't have collaborative schools. You can turn that around for yourself by learning from the world and going out and seeking out what you need.
Yeah. I love how you talk about the focus, right?
Yeah.
The fishing line versus the net. Because it's so hard. And I feel like,
Is that how you found your husband on MySpace?
I did find my husband on MySpace. I didn't know we were going to get into that on this particular. Yes, I was very focused.
MySpace, my God.
I'm old. Give me a break. I'm old. Okay. But
I want to bring it back. I'm on a mission to bring MySpace back.
I know you actually, I saw that you did post that on Facebook. That was really funny. But I do think that one thing that we really intentionally come back to all the time in the book is finding your focus. And we have a cycle of inquiry that we talk about. It starts with a focus and really being intentional with that throughout your learning journey so that you don't watch 4 hours of, cat videos, as Lauren said. But it's just, there's so much right now. And, especially in the beginning, everyone was like, you need to be using this tool and this tool and this tool. Focus on one thing. What is it? Is it giving high quality, timely feedback? What tool is going to accomplish that? Focus on that. Don't do anything else. I think we get really stuck. I personally get like the squirrel. Like I get distracted easily. So that's my personal goal is to be more focused. And I think it was never harder than this year when we were all, the rug was getting pulled out from us very regularly and we were having to kind of recenter ourselves.
Well, and I think the other piece is like, don't wait. Because like some teachers will be like, well, nobody trained me on that. Like, how am I supposed to know? And I feel like I was sitting last night even, and I was looking through some of the Q different like sessions or whatever. And I was like, I found one on using distance learning for special education. And I was like, yes, how, what, tell me all the things. And it was like so nice to be able to grab a resource from somebody that's already doing it. Like I didn't have to wait for it. Like I can pull it, I can go on a hashtag, pull what it is. Like all the information's out there and you can share it and then you can see what everybody else is doing. Oh, you want to try that? Well, what is another school down the street doing? What is somebody across the states are doing? And then you build your people.
Well, and I think that like particularly in pandemic times, like as school leaders too, we're so aware and cautious with teachers because everyone's experiencing like burnout, fatigue, everything, right? But I think it's also really important to remember and step back and go, okay, well, a lot of things are canceled this year, but like passion and curiosity are not canceled, right? People still have interests. People still want to learn and do things and grow. And giving people space and choice to do those sort of things is so, so important so that, we continue on the learning. I mean, kids are in school and a third grader this year, this is their only third grade, right? So like, we got to make it the best that we can be. And I think as school leaders, we kind of need to have that conversation too.
Thank God cat videos aren't canceled. And that a total subtle thing because she knows I have 4 cats, and that is me who watches the cat videos.
Well,
we did
that's
this morning, don't worry.
for Chris.
Something that you bring up in your book is equifinality. I don't even know if I'm equifinality. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right.
Nope,
but
equifinality.
I do love that. Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
So I need to give props to Todd Rose, which if you haven't seen his TED Talk about the myth of average, and he has a book and he's really, really great. And I was hearing him on a podcast, and it was actually Dax Shepard's podcast, because I'm a big fan of that one. And he was saying to Dax, like, this is this word equifinality. There's no one way. And I think that's why we all get super overwhelmed, is because there's not one way. We can all have really good outcomes and be doing it in totally different approaches. So I think we know there's some things that are just the goal that we have to get to, like social emotional learning. We need to, have that emotional health and well-being. That's like where we want to all get to, but how we get there is going to look different for Christy, and it's going to look different for Lauren, and it's going to look different for Mel than it is for me. And so this kind of ties into, in the book, we talk about having a collective cycle of inquiry and also having an individual cycle of inquiry. So we have, as a site or as a district, a collective cycle of inquiry, but then we have our own individual, like, this is what I need to work on. This is going to be my journey to get there. And so I'm so glad you liked that word, because I'm a big nerd for that word. And Christy and Lauren, you like it too. I know.
Yeah. That's why we made it this big.
Yeah.
Full page.
Yes. So you can see, I'll put it up there again because it is big. But no, the reason I brought it up is because that's what you started talking about, like teacher choice, kid choice. Yeah. Like, you all will get to the content, but just in a different way, or the objective just in a different way. And it's all meaningful because you talk about personalized learning, and as evolving learners, we are also learning. I feel like when I read your book, and we're going back to learning from the world, I'm an edu adventurer. Is that what it was? Is that what we're called?
Yes.
Like, I am going out. I am constantly learning. And I want to ask you, and everybody, we're about to give a book away. So you need to be commenting, because you could enter the chance to get this book, this wonderful book. So I want to ask you ladies, and then I want to ask everybody who's watching, what is your social media of choice to learn? Not necessarily to, for your social emotional needs, but basically, like, where do you find learning happening that grows you? Like your PLC in the world?
I'll say Twitter for me. I've been on there the longest, probably by far. I was on Twitter like a couple months after it launched, but I really wasn't very active. I was a lurker for a very long time. And then I really think I dived super deep into it over the last year, because I do a lot of work with schools where I'm actually doing this into schools, into districts, and trying to help people think through all of this. So for me, Twitter has been really helpful, but it's funny because I am very focused on Twitter. I don't spend time in my feed on Twitter. So I'm going to drop his name again, Austin Kleon. Less feed, more search. Like, I spend time searching. I do not spend time in the feed, because the feed is algorithms, and like, one time I liked this, so now they're going to send me more of that. And like, I know what I want to do. And so, like Lauren said, the fishing line is for me searching and using hashtags and things like that, not spending time in my feed, because my feed does not give me what I want usually.
I would agree. I mean, I think Twitter for learning is really key. And I'm the exact same way. You dive in and go, okay, I want this. Show me this. Connect me with people. Well, actually, more often than not, the best is connect me with people that know something about this. And we have a whole section in Learning from the World, particularly about like hashtags I'm following. And I see Alice saying, what's your favorite hashtag? But following hashtags and also paring down your hashtags for what you need specifically. You're going to get very specific feedback and connections. If you're a math teacher who teaches 6th grade math, there's a hashtag for, there's a hashtag for literally everything, right? And picking and choosing kind of, and then that is what will connect you with groups, but then maybe even further with individuals. And you might be finding your teacher tribe with someone who teaches 6th grade math in the middle of Minnesota. You don't even know. So that's kind of how that connects. Well, I don't know. We're in California. There's probably someone from Minnesota. But we very much, I think, are proponents of, going in with that specific view and searching and refining that search over and over. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I go through Facebook and go through the feed and, you know, get the algorithms. Instagram, same thing. But I really find that it's more for a connection on Twitter.
I know. And what's funny is though, like my hashtag favorites have changed. Like I used to ed tech everything when ed tech was like, yeah, what, and especially as coaches, we were like, what's the new thing?
Yes.
What's the new thing? But now I was working with a teacher and they wanted to use Pear Deck, shout out to Pear Deck. And I was like, and if you want to see other people doing it, go on the hashtag. And it was like all these people on Twitter, they're using it, they're posting what they did and free lessons and free, like, and you're like, see? So I don't have a favorite on that because I feel like I go off of whatever the thing is that I want. Like I was planning like a math night and it was like math at home, a hashtag there that is like really popular and great. I will say though, there, and Lauren brought up Facebook, for principal things, we're in a Facebook group that is key. Like I've like lived and breathed off this thing where we, people just kind of post, and I tend to lurk more than anything. Like I'll post occasionally, but it definitely has really great resources that we've all stolen and used, but it's like up for grabs and like even just perspective. And so it definitely depends on each one. I'm not in too many groups per se, but that one was principles. That's our favorite one right now. But then hashtags, whatever we're looking for.
Yeah. I do think Facebook has blown up more since like the last year. Like I did not use Facebook for professional learning much before. Thank you. Yeah, we've got the hashtag. I got a lot of them.
I love it. Yeah. I really love it. And you have it divided in amazing categories: science, visual, and performing arts. You have more than just like the core, you know, math and English, but you have inspiration and motivation. So I'm just saying, I wanted to point out that this is pretty awesome that you give all of these great hashtags.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I agree also.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I just think that the groups on Facebook are very, over the last year, they have been more meaningful for me as well. The groups, not necessarily my need, but definitely the educator groups that I'm in. Did you, I cut somebody off. Did you want to say anything?
Oh gosh, no. I was literally going to say the same thing as you. Like that really over the past year, I think they cut because of, you know, shut down and all that kind of stuff. I mean, people really started to move and grow in the social media that they were already existing in, right? So people who were already on Facebook and maybe didn't feel as comfortable making the jump over to Twitter, but were like, help, I need help with distance learning. I need help with my classroom or whatever. That's where like those communities started to grow and evolve, which I like, I'm all here for. And again, we participate on like pretty much every platform. And, you know, YouTube, same thing. Like, I mean, it used to be, it was like, how do I fix my sink? But now it's like, how do you set up your classroom online?
Well, who would have thought the best thing out of the pandemic was the Bitmoji craze Facebook group?
I was just going to bring that. I know.
That sucker is like the best resource ever. Like it's got every kind of, and then people just spend hours creating these things and share it. It's like, thank you.
I know.
So many great resources. And the fact that we're all avatars and we don't have to be ourselves is even better. Come on.
Love it.
Awesome. Yes. I always get like this. I always feel like I'm lying when I create my avatars. I'm just, you know, I just feel this sense of, you know, that I'm not really being truthful. So I'm so silly.
So especially with the outfits, I'm like, what would I wear?
All right. Black is what I wear. So my Bitmoji is in all black. But okay, we have a book giveaway that is happening. And so if you're watching and you want to get into this, make sure that you comment, because all the comments, we're going to pick a random comment, except for the guy that told us that we were all super attractive. He's not going to get it.
Yikes.
He was going to get one automatically. I was already like texting him, what's your address? You're welcome. Like,
that's funny. Stop.
Okay, well maybe he should be in it too. Okay, I should shut up. Okay. All right, so here's how it's going to happen. You guys can't see this, but I am going to just go up and down the comments, and whenever you say stop, whoever comment it lands on wins. So you just, somebody say
Lady,
stop.
you do it.
Stop.
Okay, that was my comment, and the next person. So The next person after my comment was actually Tammy. I went up and down. So Tammy, I'm glad you wanted to win because you won.
Yeah.
Yes, and Lainey gave me a doc, so if you want a sticker, but Tammy, make sure that you fill this out because I think this is how she will have your information. So I am going to send this to you, but it's not just for the winner, but if you want a sticker, and I think I have some, they might have dropped out of here, but also if you want a sticker, make sure. Yes. Ooh, those are cute.
We have the it doesn't come with the DeLorean, but we have the
holographic
for your water bottles.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So Tammy, make sure I hope that you saw the document that the Google Doc that I just dropped in the comments. If not, find me. I'm everywhere on social media. But we are at the end. I want to say thank you, ladies, so much for joining us. It's been such a great time visiting with you, getting to know you. And I want to tell you that this is an excellent book. I hope that every admin who is watching buys like 20 or more, or 60, however many teachers you have. You need to do a book study on this. Keep this in your library, stuff like that. If you're a teacher, this is definitely going to make you feel validated and seen. And it's going to give you, it just kind of reignited some joy for me also while reading it. So I totally give it 5 stars. I'll be doing my Amazon review soon because that's how you show authors that you love them. You give them reviews, okay?
Yes. Thanks, Mel.
But thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you. I always ask my guests before we say goodbye, are there any last words you'd like to share?
I'll just say, the book is all about building relationships for learning, and we're all here to be learning from each other. So I do hope that people will connect with us on social media because we're excited to hear what people are doing. If you love the book, we'd love to hear that too. But really, we want to hear, what are you learning about? What's working for you? Because we're constantly learning. We say in the very beginning of the book, we didn't write the book because we had all the answers. It's because we wanted the answers. We found a lot of answers, but we still have a lot more to learn. So we'd love to learn with and from all of you. Thank you all for being here.
Same. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We just appreciate the support. We loved writing together, and it was such a great experience. So we're just glad to meet and connect with people continuously. We just love it. So thank you.
Just being able to talk about it is so fun too, because I feel like we got shut down and not being able to do conferences and everything was really hard. So thank you for having us.
Yes. Oh, it's my pleasure. Happy book birthday. I'm going to eat my cake now that I don't have to worry about what other people think about when I eat it.
Same.
But yes, thank you everybody for joining in. We'll see you next week. Bye.